Hey everyone, it's Friday, which means it's time to deploy. We are back for another episode. We've got a bunch of things talking about this week. We've got a couple of blog posts that we'll be talking about hiring, talking about a productivity delusion, which Matt's going to share with us. We've got some new videos up on our YouTube channel. We recently held a Argo event in Israel, which was awesome. We got some other things to mention as well. But first, Matt, how was your week?
Another great week. Thanks, John. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on, which is really cool. And yeah, we've got a lot to chat about as well. So, how was your week? How's your Friday going?
Oh, thank you for asking. It was good, actually. I've been doing a lot of really cool initiatives. So we're starting up a new show, which hopefully we'll be sharing very shortly. The working title of it is Life at Octopus, and I'm going to be interviewing the men and women, the awesome people behind Octopus Deploy. And the first episode is with Paul, our CEO and founder. So I wrapped that up yesterday, and I'm just producing it right now, and hopefully that'll be public soon. So I've had a great week. I've had a lot of great conversations with folks. Looking forward to, obviously, upcoming things around the AI stuff that we're doing. We're doing a lot of work around that. So yeah, really busy. Really, really busy. And with that, nice little segue to get into the news. So let's go ahead and get into it. So we've got this blog post here from Arnold entitled Transparent Hiring, a Fairer and More Competitive Approach. So Arnold's part of our people team at Octopus Deploy, talks a lot about hiring, talks a lot about, obviously, engaging with our technical audience. And this is an article where he talks about basically how we approach our transparency principles at Octopus. So we have our handbook. You should know it at handbook.octopus.com. If you go to this link here, you can see this is the public version we have of the handbook. We have an internal version as well, which we won't get into, but it talks a little bit more about some other details. But this is the handbook that we've published, and it allows us to basically talk about what it's like to work at Octopus and some of the things you could come to expect, some of our values, some of the things that the way in which we do things, our compensation strategy and philosophy, and other things as well. So this article here, or this blog post by Arnold, is talking about our transparent hiring process. Did you get a chance to review this at all, Matt?
I did. I actually reviewed it before it went live, so I'm familiar with this post itself. And I can say also as a new hire that this just rings true with everything, thankfully, that everything that Arnie is saying in the article. And like the handbook is fantastic because coming into the interview process, I had all these questions I wanted to ask. And then I went through the handbook in more detail. And I'm like, okay, cross that one off. They've answered it. Cross that one off. They've answered it. So you get the answers to a lot of stuff without needing to take up that interview time, and the interview itself can then be more valuable. You can really get into the nuts and bolts from both sides. And even just the more simple things that Arnie goes into there, like showing our salary band and knowing what to expect. Like you'll see job adverts out these days where the band's like, 90,000 to 240,000. And it's like, well, that's not really helpful, is it? Because where's it going to fall in that band? But with all of our jobs here at Octopus, you can go and see roughly what you're going to fall into. So you can immediately qualify yourself in or out and understand what that role is and where it's going to sit from a salary compensation point of view, which is a big thing for taking on a new job, right? It's a big part of it. A lot of people don't like to talk about salary, but it's a big part of, of your career. So
it is. I think that this is obviously something. This is the site that we talk about here. This internal site we have called OctoComp, and it does break it down by bands. I think that at some point there's a point, and I think that there's scientific data to back this up. Once you get to a certain threshold of salary and your general bills are paid and all that sort of stuff, additional increases in salary don't generally make you a lot happier, but it's the work that you're doing that's more fulfilling that makes you feel satisfied with your job. So, but that being said, we're very transparent on that side, and so we have a site internally called OctoComp and other things like that. So this was just yet another example of how the people team's trying to let folks know of how we do things here at Octopus, and complemented with the handbook, as I said earlier, which we continue to iterate on. I think this gives people a good sense of what it's like here inside of Octopus. And there's another blog post that we also published. This one's by Steve. This one's called The Productivity Delusion. This is a very ominous title, Matt. What's going on?
I love it when Steve breaks down topics like this because you know that it's just going to be a great read with his background and his knowledge in these specific areas. So
yes,
it's a great post that really unpacks. People talk about being more productive and what does that actually mean? And it means something different to every individual and to every organization. And there's a common myth, I guess you could say, that everyone or a lot of people look at productivity in terms of speed. How fast am I doing the thing, whatever the thing is? And yeah, Steve, as always, breaks that down and just comes back to you asking yourself or your organization, what do we mean by productivity? And it's not ever just speed, so what are the other benefits? Can you increase the frequency of something that you're doing, which then leads to an increase in quality? And therefore you're not revisiting, with deploying software. If you can catch bugs and issues earlier in your development cycle, then you're spending less time later on coming back and fixing those things, therefore overall increasing the productivity of your developers and your engineering teams. So yeah, it's a really good lens on productivity, and just debunking, I think, a few of the not necessarily myths, but just the common things that people look to when they think, oh, am I being productive, and what does that actually mean?
I had an old buddy in the industry who said that he measured his productivity in interruptions per hour. So if it was a low factor, he was way more productive. It was always that. And they say, I think every time you get broken out of your focus or flow, it takes about 10 to 20 minutes to get back into that state of mind, which is where you're at your most productive. So, yeah, interesting stuff. So definitely worth checking it out. It's up at octopus.com/blog. We have a video by you, Matt, entitled Project Triggers in Octopus Deploy. And this is yet another exploring Octopus Deploy video from you. What's this all about?
Yeah, just another short look into one of the capabilities that we've got in Octopus. But I mean, stepping away from Octopus and looking at it, you'll typically find that a lot of people will build a CI pipeline to do the build and publish their packages somewhere, wherever that may be, doesn't matter. And then you'll often find that build is then triggering a release in whatever the release tool is. And that's usually fine. Like, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You will often want to do a release straight away, especially to early environments like development and such. But another lens on this is that you may want to create releases and do deployments based on some other event, not necessarily your CI workflow running. That's definitely one time where you may want to do it. But we've got a whole bunch of triggers in Octopus Deploy that you can set up to create releases. And that can be things like just on a schedule. So internally, you might have demo environments or internal environments where you want to continuously run releases on a certain schedule to refresh data or generate information inside of your product. And we've also got one of the triggers that I show throughout the demo there very quickly is looking at an external feed. So looking at a container feed, this one's Docker Hub, quite a popular one, of course, and just looking for updates to a container image, and then creating a release when there's a new container image, and then combined with our life cycles and channels within the product as well, which we won't get into here, but you can not only create a release, but it can then automatically start to deploy to some of your environments as well. So yeah, I think we've got 5 or 6 different triggers that are supported in the product today. And it's shifting that mentality from not just doing a release when I'm doing a build, but what events do I want to focus on that I might want to create a release and do a deployment from?
Yep. And another feature we have that complements this as well is ARC, or Automatic Release Creation, which is a facility you can also set up so that you can auto-generate a release based on certain criteria as well. So all this and more can be found in Matt's video, which is up on our YouTube channel. I once a week. You got the promise here last week from Matt. You heard it here yourself. Matt said, I'm doing one once a week. I'm doing one once. I'm like, it's a big commitment. Are you sure about that? He's like, yes, I'm going to do it. So any other topics you're looking to explore coming up? Like, can you give anyone a taste of what to expect?
It's interesting. I did have the document open. I can't see it right now, but
anything top of mind?
I've got a few things I'm looking into. So I just mentioned life cycles a few minutes ago, and that's something that I want to unpack. Nice. I want to talk a little bit about some Terraform support that we've got, some of the new AI functionality that we're putting into the product, and just our approach to that as well. So those are probably some of the short-term ones. There is actually one kind of interesting one that's a little bit bespoke, but kind of cool, and I won't go too much into it yet, but it allows you as a customer to use our Octopus Cloud instance. So that's the one that we host for you, but we can provide you private access to that through an Azure virtual network, which is on your side. So if you want your users and developers and tools that interact with Octopus to go over private networking, that you can that you control on your side, then that's one that I've got coming up as well. So
nice. I like that. That's because we use obviously Azure for hosting Octopus Cloud as well. So it allows us to leverage that facility. So great stuff. Project triggers in Octopus. This is a video entitled Argo Workflows with Sebastian. This is obviously the Argo Unpack series that is hosted by Ravital and Dan, and they had Sebastian co-hosting with them, and so they had a lot of questions and talked about a bunch of things, did the news, etc., etc. And it also actually dovetails nicely into a recent event that we hosted in Tel Aviv, which was for folks who were interested in learning more about Argo. Awesome stuff. So that was a recent event that we were able to host there, which was great and very exciting to see. So hopefully we'll have some future ones coming up very shortly. So awesome stuff to see. And if you're at all interested, you can check it out up on the CodeFresh YouTube channel, which is at /CodeFresh CICD, if I remember correctly, is the... Yes, it is. The CodeFresh CI/CD. There you go. So lots of videos there, including Argo Unpacked up to episode 10 now. And I think we've got episode 11 coming up soon. What OCI means for rendered manifests. That's going to feature Christian and Dan on that. So stay tuned for that. We have speaking of CodeFresh, we have actually a case study. Sojern was recently featured on the CodeFresh website. So we're now deploying 3 to 4 times more a day, which is awesome. This means that they can deploy over 100 times a day, which is great. And so Sojern is a marketing platform, and they provide this for hospitality, and they're utilizing Kubernetes. And before they were utilizing CodeFresh, obviously was a bit of a challenge. And so they wanted to modernize the way in which they do deployments. You can read more about this up on our CodeFresh website, which is at codefresh.io. Fantastic stuff. We also have a article here featuring Paul. This is an exclusive on CFO Tech Australia at cfotech.com.au, where Paul was interviewed by Melina, the Australian startup taking the fear out of enterprise deployments. It's funny when people write these with these titles. There's like, you know, like, is there a lot of fear? Like, it's, I don't know. Like, it's like everyone's like afraid to press the deploy button. I mean, for us, it's like we do it all the time. So it's like, yeah, just deploy. Let's go. You set it up. It should be robust. But a nice little overview here about how Paul and Sonia started and then grew the company. There's a photo of us. Actually, I'm somewhere in the back here. This was us in the Sunshine Coast. We were in Noosa in Australia, and this was part of the R&D kickoff, which was awesome. So if you want to check that out, that's up on cfotech.com.au. And now it's everyone's favorite time for Support on Friday. All right, this is the segment of the show where we take a thread or a post up on the advice channel, up on our community Slack. And this one's from Zachary. It says, hello, is there a REST endpoint to create a project level deployment freeze via the REST API? I'm trying to use this one, but it keeps failing, saying your license does not include global deployment freeze. Please contact sales@octopus.com. Zachary was able to figure it out for himself. So he is able to utilize it here. But this is actually something worth pointing out, which is how do you interact with Octopus at an API level? And so I thought I would take the time here just to kind of highlight some of the things you can do. So here, Zachary is using curl. I would not recommend curl. There are many, many other tools you can use. There are tools like, for example, Fiddler. Fiddler is a great tool for utilizing this. There's other tools as well that are available as well. There's tools like Postman, for example, and you can utilize Postman for doing invocations of API if you wish. You can hit the API yourself by hitting /API on your instance. So whatever your instance name may be up on the cloud or your private on server instance, just hit /API if it's exposed. You can turn that on and off, by the way. But these are the endpoints that are available for you to hit, including the query parameters. So you'll see in here in the curly brackets here, these are some of the query parameters you can provide. And these are the APIs you can hit. And then, of course, if you're looking for a more detailed article, I actually ended up writing this doc a long time ago, getting started with the Octopus REST API. We have a number of clients that you can use. We have our Go client, our .NET client, our TypeScript client. We were looking at building a Rust client at one point. I think I was also looking at creating a Python client. But basically, we have all the bases covered with these three. And you basically target the REST API, you create an API key, and then from there, you can utilize very easily the facilities that are available there. There is a section here that talks about OpenID Connect, which is primarily for between server and server communication, where you can establish a chain of trust. And there's also our Swagger documentation. So the API itself was built a long time ago and has been built upon some of these other technologies, including Swagger. And so we do have an endpoint that you can expose via Swagger UI, but it's not always up to date because the APIs are constantly changing, etc. But one of the things I would recommend is if you're going to utilize a tool like Fiddler, use it in concert with a tool like our new CLI. So if you use our CLI and you have a proxy trace set up in between, like Fiddler or something like that, you can actually watch the API calls that we send to and from your local machine to the remote instance. And using the CLI will give you a good level up on what APIs are being called for all these. The CLI utilizes the APIs. So does our GitHub Actions. So do a lot of our integrations with TeamCity, etc. They all target our APIs. So if you're all interested in learning more, you can check it out. Check out this this doc that we have up there, or check out how to utilize this via other means like our CLI and other tools as you see fit. So there you go. And that is another week of life at Octopus. So that's a teaser to the new, hopefully, show that we'll be publishing soon. So Life at Octopus there. Whatever. I'm trying to promote it. I've got nothing, right? So anyways, any final thoughts from you, Matt, before you wrap up?
I don't think so. I'm actually pretty excited about that Life at Octopus show, because one thing that I've found in the last couple of months, having started Octopus, is that the people are genuinely really awesome, and to learn more about them is going to be super exciting. So I am keeping an eye out for that one as well. Can you give me an early insight into that? Or
yeah, I will. I'm hosting it like This Is Your Life. So the idea is like I host it like this, and then I show links and photos of people's lives. And so Paul shared his upbringing in a small little Australian town called Whyalla, and we talked about that. We talked about startup culture. We talked about a whole bunch of things. So yeah, I'll make sure to share that with you and others early on. Hopefully stay tuned for that show coming up soon. And Matt and I are also thinking about starting up some other things as well, including maybe a live stream. So stay tuned for that. So hopefully you'll hear from more from us about that soon. Anyways, on behalf of Matt, Jim, who sends his regards, and all of us here at Octopus Deploy, we'll see you next week. Happy deployments, everyone. Take care.